All right, guys, before we get started today, I want to let you know that you can try YouTube TV for free and get access to 85 plus live TV channels, unlimited DVR space, and game day features like Key Plays. Just be sure to record the game and then use the Key Plays view right in the YouTube TV app. Catch up on all the highlights you may have missed. Plus, you can cancel at any time with no hidden fees. That's a touchdown. YouTube TV. Try it free, new users only. Terms apply. Cancel anytime. What's up, guys? Welcome into a very special free agency edition of Chargers Weekly, joined by Matt Money Smith. And I'm not going to bury the lead. That t-shirt is incredible. Yeah. Can you please stand up and show the folks on St. Patty's Day, first day of March Madness, what you're working with?
So this is courtesy of my friend Dave Cardona, who does individual shirts. He's got one of these cool printers that'll just knock out whatever you want. And we're doing a remote today, Petros and I, out at Hollywood Park Casino right next to SoFi for St. Patrick's Day and for tournament time and all that. So I was like, dude, we need a green UCLA shirt. I have this green Dodgers hat that we were at spring training for St. Patrick's Day and the Dodgers were playing. So they sold all this green Dodger gear and it's awesome. And I was like, we got to get green UCLA gear. So my man Dave jumped into action. He's like, I'll come up with something for you. And so he got us the UCLA with the freaking fighting Mick Cronin. And calls it Mick Madness. So, I mean, how does Mick not have, he gets a 6-year extension on St. Patty's Day. He's, of course, a proud Irish American. So we're stoked. We're stoked that we're part of the UCLA world. They're on our station along with the Chargers. So it's a good day. It's a great day for us. We're talking about all these free agent signings, and we got UCLA starting their march back to the Final Four.
Had to get that out of the way first because, I mean, come on, Mick Madness.
Mick Madness.
Listen, Mac Madness in Costa Mesa. Khalil Mack, a Charger,
Good
man.
Transition. Good transition, Chris.
We have so many. Yeah, listen, I try.
You're a pro. Come on. You're a pro.
we got so much to talk about, but I want to start with Khalil, his presser. I think it got a lot of people fired up because he was very understated. He said, listen, I want to show you. I don't want to talk about it. I just want to do it. And I can appreciate that. And I'm just so excited to see him and Joey Bosa on the field together.
Yeah, he joined Petros and me after the presser, and it was great. Same deal, just very matter of fact. Can't wait to get out there.
You had him. Let me just say this though, because you had him cutting up. He sat down with us at CBS LA right before, and he was on the phone with you guys, and he was laughing hard about something. Yeah. You said something to him that made him.
It was Petros when he brought him on. He said, you know what? He's such a big star. LeBron will probably give him one of those 5-minute hugs if he ever sits courtside at a Laker game. And that got him going. So the one thing that, look, he said a lot of great things, but the one thing that really got me was, and I'm sure it came up in the presser too, and I don't know if he gave the same answer because we were doing the radio show when it was happening, but we asked him about Coach Staley and, what it was like as his position coach. And he kind of walked through the connection they made immediately because, and I had forgot how that trade went down to Chicago. And he's like, when I got traded, I had to play the Packers like immediately. He's like, so Coach Staley sat down with me and we just poured over film and he got me ready. And I was kind of nervous and anxious and I wasn't sure. I knew how much the Green Bay Packer game meant to Bear fans. And so I've got all this going on. He's like, and man, that was our moment. Like we connected in that moment. And he's been my guy ever since. He's like the first speech he ever gave in our position group room. He's like, I want to run through a door for that guy. So pretty stoked that Coach Staley, look, credit to Tom and his team. And no doubt Coach Staley was a big reason why, because he worked with him. Khalil Mack's now a Charger. And man, you said it. I mean, Bosa on one side, Mack on the other. Holy cow. What fun that's going to be.
His first 4 years with the Raiders, second 4 years with the Bears. And he said, obviously when you get traded, it's a little bit of a surprise and you have to process the fact that you're not going to be in a city that you poured your heart into for the last 4 years. But he understood that it's a new administration in Chicago. And the fact that Brandon Staley was his position coach and is now his head coach, you look at the pieces around him. He had a lot of really good individual pieces in Chicago around him. I venture to say this may be the best in terms of individual pieces that he'll have around him, with Joey on one side, Derwin in the secondary, J.C. Jackson. The one thing I asked him, Money, that I was curious about was just his ability to stop the run. And he's talked about, that's as big of a part of his game as anything. And he had this awesome quote. He said, me and Coach Staley talk about the fact that you got to get bloody before you can actually start to get your money. So that means stopping the run, having that mindset that we got to do that first. And if we do that, then we can pin our ears back and get after the quarterback. And the Chargers' struggles on run defense was well documented last year. And I just feel like that's the underrated part of all this is, yes, he's going to get after quarterbacks in the West and beyond, but I really think he's going to help shore up that run defense.
No doubt. Look, to me, we've talked about it, for years now. Joey's the best all-around defensive lineman in the game. Not just defensive end. He's not the best pass rusher. He's not the best edge. He's the best defensive lineman in the game, all around. If you want to talk about pinning your ears back, getting the quarterback off the edge, you want to talk about stopping the run, the way he tracks backs down from the backside. If they get loose and break contain on the other side, it's unlike any guy we see his size. So now you got that on one side, and you have a premier pass rusher. And like Max said, that was something that was preached to him from day one about stopping the run on the other. But there's, we used to say it with, and it's nothing against Melvin Ingram, an awesome football player. We used to say, how do you, pick your poison? You want Melvin, you want Joey, you can't double them both. Well, now Melvin's turned into Khalil Mack. And I mean, it's incredible. Like, it is incredible what those two guys are going to be able to do because of the inability. You can't throw a tight end on both sides and stop. You want enough guys out in the pattern. Like, I mean, it is incredible. What, like I said, the front office, Tom and his team and Coach Staley have put together, and their vision of what they want this defense to look like after a disappointing season. And look, this is back-to-back years now for Tom Telesco. The offensive line was a mess 2 years ago. They went into the offseason with a plan, and talk about executing a plan. They got the best center in football, and Corey Linsley made him the highest paid center. They filled in around him with Ibushi and Filer, who both played great football. Unfortunately, Ibushi got hurt. And then they draft Rashawn Slater. Fixed. Offensive line fixed. And now to attack the defense the way they have, I have no doubt Charger fans have to be beyond excited about what's to come now that they've been able to get some anchors. That's what we talked about last week before free agency, Chris, was, I envisioned it looking like it did last year. I was wrong. They doubled up. The fact that they got Mack and JC Jackson, I was like, I could see one blue chip and then let's fill in around him. I was hoping that blue chip was going to be a corner. They end up getting the best corner of the last, at least the player that's played the best at cornerback at the position the last 3 years. And then they also get Khalil Mack. It's incredible what they were able to put together this offseason.
The AFC West now with pass rushers, dude. Chandler Jones, Max Crosby. I consider Chris Jones like a defensive tackle who gets after the quarterback, Frank Clark, and then Randy Gregory and Bradley Chubb. I mean, the division should be on prime time maybe half the year,
yeah.
Right?
We said that last week. We said, look, minimum 5 for the Chargers. Yeah. Minimum 5. The most you can have is 6. Now, I don't think they can put all 4 AFC West teams in prime time 6 times, but they're going to figure out a way. And I would assume CBS is going to have a lot to say about them trying to pluck these AFC West games for Monday Night Football and Sunday Night Football, because they're going to be like, no, this is what we pay for. We got billion-dollar contracts too, and we want Tony Romo and Jim Nantz on Chargers Chiefs, on Raiders Broncos, on Chargers Bronco. Like, it's going to be incredible. It's going to be, and Khalil Mack said something too. I asked him about, just in the past, how many times have you seen Patrick and Russell Wilson and obviously Derek Carr, and he just said, it's funny, everybody's talking about it's a grind, it's a gauntlet. He goes, man, this is what I want. He goes, this is what I signed up for. He's like, man, he goes, if you love football, this is exactly the way you want it to lay out. You want to go get Russell Wilson, you want to go get Patrick Mahomes. He's like, that's what you play this game for, to take on the best and to be better than them.
And he's going to have an offense like he's never had before with Justin Herbert leading the charge. And he said he respects Justin Herbert's talent, but he appreciates his mindset more than his talent. I asked him, like, what do you mean by that? And I almost feel like they're very like-minded, Bunny. Like Justin doesn't beat his chest and say, look at me as the quarterback. He has that mindset of he wants to beat you, and he wants to do it very, very understated. And I feel like him and Mac are almost kind of kindred spirits in that regard. Is they just want to do their work and show you what they're going to do, as opposed to talk about it and make a big deal about it when it doesn't matter, like the off season, or when it doesn't matter after a game or before a game. Between the white lines is when I feel like both those guys are at their best, obviously. But the defensive line as a whole, and you mentioned it, I feel like Staley, he's getting guys he really thinks can thrive in his system. And today, as we tape this, Sebastian Joseph Day and Austin Johnson are going to have their pressers. And those are two guys, man, talk about stopping the run. They automatically make this defense so much better. We talk about Joey and Mack on the edges. I mean, these two dudes, in terms of stopping the run, huge upgrades.
No doubt. Look, Austin Johnson is second-round talent, a Penn State guy. I mean, really talented interior defensive lineman, and played really good football on an incredibly underrated, because the offense was so bad, New York Giants team. But Patrick Graham had that defense humming, and Johnson was a big part of it. Sebastian Joseph Day, when he was healthy before he blew his pec out, also an important part. And look, that's the one thing. It worked for Gus. We made fun of, I shouldn't say we made fun, but everybody kind of got a chuckle out of Gus going to the Raiders and bringing over, the Phylon and Perriman and Faison and Hayward. And now he's got him going. Now he's got Yannick Ngakoue going to Indy. But when defensive coordinators work that closely with players, and they know players that are difference makers, they want them. They're like, look, I've been around this guy. I know his practice habits. I know how he executes in my scheme. Now, there is a flip side to that, where they might overlook more talented players for guys that they're comfortable with. But that's not I don't get the sense that that's the case. Joseph Day was effective for Brandon Staley 2 years ago on the best defense in football. So, and look, who knows if he's a starter or if he's a depth piece. For all we know, maybe Fajoko's ready to take the step. He played great when he was called upon to play interior line. So, and also I think it's important to remember, just how much better those interior linemen are going to be now with Khalil Mack on one side. I mean, the fact that they're going to have one-on-ones inside, and another year in the scheme, for guys to settle in, Tranquil to be healthy. Remember, let's not forget about how good Amon looked as a rookie, an undrafted free agent rookie. So I think that's what's also to remember. It's not just Austin Johnson, Sebastian Joseph Day, but it's also another year after finally, getting some legitimate rotation play for Braden Fajoko. Another year for Ogbong Bamiga, another year for Kenneth Murray. We know how good Drew Tranquil is. Cole Christensen played well when he was called upon. That's kind of what I think some people overlook. Chris Rumpf, I know I'm doing the name salad right now, but those guys are going to be better. They now know what an NFL season looks like, what it feels like, what kind of condition they have to be in, how quickly their mistakes are exploited. And that's all stuff they learned, for the most part last year. So you add in the pieces that are new with the pieces that are more experienced. And I really like this group. I really, really like what this group's going to look like. What this group is going to look like.
You hope that Jerry too, as a pass rusher on third down, when you have him on the interior, I mean, listen, he's a pretty good pass rusher from the interior. I mean, I think run defense, you got guys that are really going to help there. But I also look at Jerry to go with Joey and Khalil on third down. Let's say it's 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12. It's another guy who can get after the quarterback. You mentioned Chris Rumpf. And we always talk about the rush and cover working together. When you bring in J.C. Jackson, man, nobody has more interceptions. Chargers Communications had, I think, nobody in their first 4 years has had more interceptions than J.C. Jackson in like 4 decades. He has the most picks, 25, since coming into the league in 2018. And this was a Chargers defense that I believe only had 11 last year. Derwin, Kaiser, and Asante each had 2, which was the team lead. So to bring in a guy like that to go with Khalil Mack, I think it sets up for success.
Well, and I think the important thing is sometimes interceptions can be misleading. It just sometimes you get lucky. There's a bunch of tips and you happen to be in the right spot. Go back if you have the opportunity and watch J.C. Jackson's interceptions. Some of them, there's a couple in there that are tips, but for the most part, this is a dude that has vision. He has vision. He has incredible burst to jump routes. He tracks the ball well. He's got great hands. Like those and look, when you have that many, it's not fluky, but it's I think back to the Chicago Bear days, and I remember that incredible defense that should have won a Super Bowl, but their offense was so completely inept, with Urlacher and Lance Briggs. But I remember Mike Brown getting a lot of shine as a safety because I think he led the league in interceptions. They were all fluky interceptions. It was all, pass rush or just incredible play by the linebackers, and balls just kind of got tipped and found their way into his hands. And it's like, wow, this guy led the league in interceptions. Yeah, different. JC Jackson is an interception machine. And like you said, when you pair a pass rush, it's what, it's a football, it's football vernacular. You hear it though, but they talk about a connected defense. When the back is connected to the front, man, that's when you can really get humming. And when you have a front that's going to get after it, to now have an opportunistic backside, what I think, like Chris, to be honest, the JC Jackson is going to be great. The thing I'm most excited about, I'm just dying to see Nasir take that step that we have seen. We've seen him track these balls and get so close on how good he was at Delaware at intercepting the ball. Like, I think he's the one that's not being mentioned enough about how this new having Khalil Mack out there is going to benefit him. And hopefully this is the year because he played better last year than the year before, but I'm hoping this is the year where he kind of takes that step into being what a lot of us thought he could be. And truly, when he was drafted, I remember DJ saying, this is the perfect compliment to Derwin James. This guy is a ball hawk. So I'd love to see that this year.
Yep. Second year in Staley's defense, and money. I just think about Derwin, what this means for Derwin. Like, he was spread so thin last year. These additions allow him to be all over the field. Like, he can be Derwin James, first team All Pro from his rookie season, as opposed to having to, I feel like, be everywhere last year and really take on so much. Now, do you think he could play a little more free and just be Derwin James?
Yeah,
he wasn't last year.
No, I know what you mean. I totally know what you mean. Because look, he was responsible to some degree as a pass rusher. They relied on him a lot to kind of come up with that big sack or that big stop behind the line of scrimmage, and he excels at that. But I know exactly what you're saying. You had to have him on the line of scrimmage because of how bad the run defense was. And you were just like, if only we could just truly use him like that queen on the chessboard and move him any direction as far as you want for whatever you think that particular play dictates. And I think, speaking to what you're kind of alluding to, can Derwin just have free reign? Troy Polamalu style, right? When Troy was just, he was free to go wherever he wanted. What do you see? We trust your eyes, go get it. And I think last year, first year in Brandon Staley's defense, it's not going well. They're last on third down. They're last against the run. I think a lot of that led to Derwin maybe not cutting loose as much as you would have liked to see. And I think that's what you're speaking to. And yeah, when you have better players out there and more talent doing their job at their position, it allows Derwin, I think, to excel, by being one of the most versatile, if not the most versatile defender in all of football.
Yeah, no question. I'm so excited to see Derwin play with Khalil Mack, with Joey Bosa, with JC Jackson. And, you talk about some of these guys, you rattled off a bunch of them, guys like Nazir Adderley, Michael Davis, Asante Samuel Jr. taking that next step in year two, hopefully injury-free and on the field. I mean, the secondary is really shaping up. And I think sometimes when you look at some of the disappointments from last year, there's positives because guys got reps, guys played, right. And rookies and undrafted guys got valuable snaps that will hopefully help them in year two. So I don't know how different the defense is going to look in terms of the stats, but I mean, shoot, man, when you upgrade the way that they've upgraded, I think really just starting with the run, if they can stop the run on first and second down and give Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack third and long opportunities, that's where they're going to make their money. And I think offensively too, just control the ball and keep these defensive players fresh.
Yeah, I think, just going back to what we talked about last few weeks, the signing of JC Jackson, and they already mentioned it. They planted that seed because I understand what they're doing. They don't want it to look like a demotion. It's not. Teams are in 11 personnel more than any other formation. So you need a nickelback. And I mean, the idea that Asante is being demoted by put in the slot, no, that is as important and as any position on the field, with the fact that 3 receivers are out there on 80% of the plays for most of these teams. So to me, that just bringing in Jackson and having those 2 big corners now on the outside in Mikey and JC, and then being able to have, and look, credit to Chris Harris fighting through a ton of injuries, but it's clear, Chris's best football was behind him. He was on the downhill of his career, fought through it, still made some great plays, but now you upgrade that spot. Now you've upgraded the slot corner because you're able to push Asante inside, and you can have Mike Davis and JC on the outside. Well, now you got depth that you're working with, especially if there's a corner sitting there at 17, or if they're comfortable if they can find themselves another corner in the draft. Like we talked about depth, man. I forgot Jerry Tillery, because there's now depth that you feel a lot better about.
Chenna goes to Seattle. I mean, I'm happy for him. Hometown kid who has never really left LA, gets a 2-year deal. And, I think it's a great opportunity for him to shine in Seattle, but we'll miss him here.
No doubt. Look, I'm happy for him. I had heard there were some people sniffing around and there might've been some big money out there, but $20 million is big money. I know it's a short deal, but I have some friends that are Seahawks fans, and I was letting them know, look, you got one, man. This dude can play. The sacks are not there, but the pressures, the hits are there. You can see him beating his guy and getting into the backfield. And maybe it just let down because, again, they had some issues with the defense not being connected last year. But people were worried like, oh, he's coming from a 3-4 outside linebacker. No, that dude excelled in Gus's defense, when they were playing a 4-3 and he was an end. So no doubt, I'm sure, Pete's obviously still got the connections at USC. He knows what an incredible, young man, not so young anymore. I've been in the league for 4 years, but what an incredible guy Chenna is. And they've been looking for pass rush forever, be it through free agency or through the draft. And, I hope for Chenna's sake, he's as good as I think he's going to be up there and ends up, having that second year torn up and gets himself a 5 or 6 year deal after this season.
Chargers also reportedly signed a long snapper in Josh Harris. And, from a special teams perspective, man, I think it's a nice start, as they continue to rebuild this unit. And if that third phase can give them something this year, that's the difference between making the playoffs and not.
Yeah, I'm not going to pretend like I can evaluate long snappers, but
listen, come on, buddy. I want 3 plays, 3 of your favorite plays.
I did talk to somebody on the Chargers who said, hey, this isn't going to make any waves, but this guy's really good. He's the best long snapper in the league. And, we've talked about special teams and how wrong things have gone over the past few years, blocked punts, missed field goals. And they always talk about the operation. It's not just the specialist. It's not just the kicker and the punter, but it's the snapper and the holder. And a lot of times people forget how important that is. I thought Matt Overton did a great job last year when he filled in, for why is Mazza, right?
Cole Mazza.
Exactly. When Cole went down. But Matt's old, he's on toward the back end there, and excited that the person I talked to is excited about this, because he was like, it's crazy that, to say, but this guy's really, really good. And I think that's evidenced by the fact that they gave him $5 million, in a long-term deal, which you don't typically see for long snappers. They're usually just year to year, but I think it speaks to how good this guy is. And I'm anxious to see, they signed Dustin Hopkins to that long-term deal. So now I think the one thing that's left is, returner. Are they gonna run it back with what they had last year, or are they still on the lookout for punter and punt returner, because we know those are 2 positions that are technically open right now.
All right, guys, a quick break to let you know that you can try YouTube TV for free and get access to 85 plus live TV channels, unlimited DVR space, and game day features like key plays. Just be sure to record the game and then use the key plays view right in the YouTube TV app. Catch up on all the highlights you may have missed. Plus, you can cancel at any time with no hidden fees. That's a touchdown. YouTube TV, try it free. New users only. Terms apply. Cancel anytime. So, obviously, it's been busy in LA with the Chargers. Free agency has been insane, man. What has stood out to you obviously the AFC West just going toe for toe with quarterbacks and pass rushers has been a huge storyline, but there's just so much going on around the league. I know you being in the building, NFL Network, what's stood out the most through the first week of free agency?
Well, I don't think there's any question. It's Russell Wilson. The fact that the Seahawks opted to move on from a Super Bowl champion, from a perennial MVP contender, even though he's never actually won one. But you talk about the success they've had in Seattle, and the willingness to move on from that, you never see it. It doesn't happen. Think back to the last time it happened. It doesn't. The only thing I can think of that's close is Jay Cutler, who had a really good season with the Broncos, and they opted to move on from him to the Bears and got a couple first round picks for it. But that's the thing that's really what really surprised me. I knew that Aaron Rodgers wasn't going anywhere. There's no way you trade a back-to-back MVP. It just doesn't happen. So that I knew he was staying in Green Bay, and I had just assumed that they would figure it out in Seattle. So that not only did they trade him, but they traded him to an offensive roster that's really good. Yeah. The Broncos are really talented, and they did not have to give up any of their big three receivers. And they have Hamler, they have Patrick, they have Sutton and Judy, of course. They kept Albert O at tight end, even though they had to give up Fant, who's a really good player. But having Javonte at the running back position, man, that is a stacked team. So, how good their secondary is on defense. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I still think they're going to take a step back without Vic Fangio. He's just that good of a defensive mind. And look, Nate Hackett's a first-year head coach, so I'm not crazy about the fit, by the way, of Russell Wilson. It's very similar to what, Pete's tried to do in the past with Wilson, and he just won't do it. He does not want to get rid of the ball quick, and he wants to pat, pirouette, throw downfield, and that's just not how Nate Hackett coaches. It's not how Shane Waldron wanted to coach. It's not how Shoddy wanted to coach when he was up there. So it's going to be interesting to see if Russell can change his stripes and start, like Aaron Rodgers did, and that was what Aaron Rodgers was like before Nate Hackett and Matt LaFleur got there. He was pat, hold, and they were like, you've got to change, and it produced back-to-back MVP. So that's something that's going to be asked of Russell Wilson. So that's, to me, that's the thing that jumped out the most. I'm encouraged that it looks like Deshaun Watson is not going to be in the AFC after telling the Browns he's not going there. So
yeah, as good. I'm sure by the time we get this out to the folks, you may have had an answer on where Deshaun Watson is, but as of now, as we taped this, you said he's told the Browns no, and it looks like the NFC South is in contention, right?
Well, Saints or Atlanta seem to be the two that are being focused on. So, we already got enough great quarterbacks in the AFC. So, it sounds like he's going to get out of there. But, when you look at the Chargers opponents, and I'm just going to pull them up right now. So just so I have,
pulling them up. It was funny because when we taped the pod last week, the Mac news, I think, broke like a couple hours after.
Oh yeah.
We put the video up, and people are like, you guys realize that, you're not talking about Mac? But yeah, it wasn't happening. Yeah. Someone said, well, money was talking about Carson Wentz and, Washington Washington going after a rookie quarterback. So this had to have been before the Wentz news. And so yeah, I can't keep anything current, man.
Exactly. There's a lot. Especially with moving parts like that, by the time we get done with this, but look, the Colts we're going to Indianapolis to play the Colts. Who's going to be the quarterback when we're taping this? As of right now, they have no quarterback. When we finish taping this, who knows? Maybe Baker Mayfield's in Indianapolis. Maybe Jimmy Garoppolo is in Indianapolis. No idea, how that's going to shake out. But as I'm looking at the opponents, like what stands out to me, and we brought this up before, we're going to see Chenna. We play the NFC West. We know how good that division is. You had three teams in the playoffs last year. It'll be interesting to see what Arizona looks like if they can get over their issues with Kyler, or how that plays out. We obviously have all the AFC West opponents, but play the Browns, play the Falcons, if that's where Deshaun Watson ends up going. Yep.
Casey Hayward is there now. We just figured
exactly our old friend alert. So we're going to see him in Atlanta. The Dolphins spent a lot of money and have a new head coach, and they're crafting that, building that, that offense in his image with Alec Ingold, the fullback, going there, and and with Raheem Mostert, who excelled under Mike McDaniel as their running game coordinator in San Francisco. That's going to be a tough squad. Play the Super Bowl champs, playing the Rams. So happy to see Von Miller in Buffalo, although I won't be singing that tune in the playoffs. Yeah. So there's look, man, it's going to be fun. I tell people this all the time, and this goes back to last year. I'll make this analogy. Last year, and look, the Dodgers didn't win the World Series. It stunk. I thought it was BS the way that they stack the playoffs, and the fact that they had to be a wild card with the second best record in the league. That was ridiculous. But I said, you don't want 3-game sweep, 4-game sweep, 4-game sweep, or winning 5 games. You don't remember that. You don't remember that. That's not something that will stay with you for the rest of your life. What stays with you is this incredible run, 5-game series, 7-game series, 7-game series. Like, those are the things you remember. Lakers, Celtics in the 80s, Game 7, Magic playing center. Like, that's the stuff. If that was Magic playing center in Game 5 and they won 4-1, it'd be like, oh yeah, I remember that. It was so crazy. He played center and he down. No, that's not what it is. And I think that's what's so great about this upcoming season. This has a chance, it has a chance to be one of the greatest that any football fan and Charger fan is going to have been part of in a long. When you just think about those playoffs, if they can punch that ticket to the tournament, and 1 week it's the Chiefs and the next week it's the Bills, and it's the Titans with Derrick Henry or whoever it might be. Like, it's a Super Bowl against the Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, or it's so stacked right now, and it's going to be incredibly competitive, and the schedule is going to be incredibly hard.
On a smaller scale too, if you just look at it from like an AFC West perspective, if you get out of that division and get into the tournament, you will have earned it, no doubt. Like,
no
these
doubt,
teams are going to beat up on each other, and just like any other season for all 32 teams, there's going to be peaks and valleys. There may be a tough stretch. There may be a stretch where you get on a roll and win a bunch of games in a row. But this AFC West, man, whoever gets out of it, you will have earned it, no question about it.
And I think it brings the importance to, you better win games you're supposed to win. There is no room for hiccups, no room for a Houston loss, no room for an Atlanta loss, or if you feel like you're considerably better than the Seahawks because they're rebuilding and they don't have that quarterback, you better win those games, because the ones, like you said, it's going to be a street fight, every one of those AFC West division contests.
God, I'm so excited, dude. We have so much more to go, though. Like, the second and third wave of free agency, like, the Chargers aren't done. Like, there may be moves today. There may be moves tomorrow. And
they have not touched the offense. We
didn't talk about the offense today.
Yeah, I mean, they did. They did EFAs for Guyton, Parham. But outside of that, there's don't know. Are they looking at a running back? Are they looking? Is there a right tackle out there? Are they gonna take a shot with Trey? Because they were impressed with what he did in his 2 starts last year. About the draft, we got the draft coming up, and that's the great thing about free agency, when you can execute your plan and get the guys that you target, is it frees you up in the draft to truly take the best player available. I think at this point, look, I'd love to see a right tackle. Nothing against Storm or Trey, but I think if you can get a little bit of depth there, considering what it looked like last year, I think that'd be, hopefully Ibushi's healthy and they can bring him back. That'd be awesome to settle that guard position. And I have a feeling that that's going to happen, or else I don't think they would have let Quest go. That's just kind of where my head is. The fact that they let Quest go just on a 1-year deal to Houston. I think if they didn't feel like they had that right guard position figured out, and if Ibushi wasn't tracking toward being healthy and bringing him back, I think you would have seen them match that deal for whatever it was, $1 million, $2 million bucks. So that's, and it brings into and the reason I bring that up is because, if you can settle that right side of the line, well, now with pick 17, you can go wherever you want. You can go defensive line depth, you can go corner, you can go wide receiver, and it's not a big deal. If Olave's sitting there, or one of these guys is sitting there, Jameson, it's like you can go wherever you want, because you've kind of been able to fill your needs and just take the best player on the board.
And, this is the splashy week, but this second and third wave, we talked about Brandon Staley saying he wants a deep team. He wants a complete team. that's where you make your team deep and complete in this second and third wave of free agency. And Tom has done really well in the past during this stretch of March and going into April. So that's what I'm on the lookout for now, is like, how do you fill out the roster here? Not only defensively, but like you said, we haven't even touched the offense yet. Maybe there's a running back, maybe there's a veteran running back, a right tackle, another wide receiver. Who knows what they'll do? But special teams guys too, guys who are veterans who have played teams, who know what to do and know what to expect in that third phase of the game. Those are the guys I'm kind of looking for over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, one of the things I think is really in play is pick 17 for a quarterback. Just because that's kind of your sweet spot, right? If you don't want to spend a top 5 pick on Kenny Pickett or Malik Willis or Matt Corral, whomever your guy is, like that's the Lions got pick 32. It's like, if you might be able to get that second round back. If you want to go from 17 all the way back to 32, or if the Steelers want to jump up from 20, maybe you pick up an extra third, to account for the second that you traded for Khalil Mack. Well, now you're whole. Now you're whole on your draft board. So that's also something that I would keep an eye on is, because it is a deep O-line class, it's a deep wide receiver class. So when, tight end, there's probably not going to be a tight end that goes in the first round, but there will be a tight end that goes in the second round, maybe a couple of them, McBride or whomever it may be, that's the first one off the board. Like, so I wouldn't be surprised if they may have a guy that's circled or two that they really have circled, but I would not be the least bit surprised if 17 is in play for a quarterback, because there aren't going to be any taken, maybe before that.
Yeah, it's a good call. And I think it gives the Chargers, like I said, the Chargers are in a great spot there. I mean, you could literally pick 6 different positions and probably be happy with either one.
Just pick a Georgia player.
If you get a Bulldog, it usually leads to success, right?
Exactly. If you're picking for defense, just take one of the Georgia guys. You'll be fine.
Take a 5-star. Who do you have cutting down the Nets? You got a Final Four?
Yeah, look, I think it's hard to pick against Gonzaga. I felt the same way last year. I just felt like they were such a great team. At the same time, I love the fact that UCLA is healthy. Like, this is the first time they have been completely and totally healthy all season. They got veteran guards. They got, with Cody Riley back, they got bigs now. They have some size in there that can work for them. So, it's just, man, they got a gauntlet of a bracket. The defending champ Baylor Bears. They got to deal with Kentucky, who's played incredible this year. Even St. Mary's in the second round. My gosh, I think their average age is like 27, and they're all just gnarly like Australians. Yeah, so it won't be easy, and I know it's on the same side of the bracket. But look, I'm a West Coast guy, so I'm hoping for a UCLA Arizona final. That'd be awesome. Make it a Pac-12, make it the fourth meeting between the two, and let's get after it.
That's what I got. I got UCLA cutting down the Nets against Arizona.
There we go.
There's like 20 teams that could win this thing, though. 15, 10. What do you think?
I usually say there's about 3 or 4, and that's usually how it works out. It's like last year, I felt like Gonzaga was the runaway winner. I was like, is there a team that could give them an issue? Probably Baylor. I mean, that's kind of how I felt going into last year, that it was going to be one of those two teams. I'm not just saying that in hindsight. And that's just, so this year I feel like, you know what? I think Kentucky's really good. I think Gonzaga is exceptional. Baylor is still a load to deal with. Arizona's so talented and they're big. UCLA, I think, is certainly capable. I'm not crazy about Kansas. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I got like 5 teams that I would be willing. If I had to put money on it, there's maybe 5 teams I'd put my money on to say, yeah, okay, I'll risk some cash for this.
I had a fun assignment on Sunday. I was in Fullerton at this bar, Roscoe's, or the deli, and the team was there waiting to see who they were going to play. And when Duke came across the screen, I mean, it's
awesome.
It's awesome for these kids because you get the memory going to the tournament, but you're playing Coach K and perhaps his last game.
Make it his last game, man. Make it his last game.
Right?
Yeah.
Titans?
100%.
15-2?
100%. Yeah, 100%. Although I will say, I mean, I shouldn't play favorites, but Sorry, Titans. I'm a big Long Beach State guy. I've known Dan Monson a long time. I was heartbroken for him.
The Beach.
And for Long Beach State, yeah, 49ers are, I guess, yeah, now they're the Beach, right? But yeah, I was really pulling for Coach Monson to get in there and try to work some of his tournament magic again, like he used to at Gonzaga all those years.
Yeah. All right. Well,
all right, man.
You got a show to do, right? A little UCLA talk, Mick Madness.
Little
Show
Mick
the show
Madness
one more
today.
time for the folks.
All right, there we go. There it is, little Mick Madness. It's too bad we can't sell these, right?
I'm telling you,
Man,
man,
they would.
I'd be first in line.
Yeah, would you be first in line at the court appearance when UCLA sues us?
Yeah, never mind,
Exactly.
Bruins.
Exactly.
Never mind. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us.
Right,
We'll have more free agency news next week. Always love doing this. Every Thursday, this is Chargers Weekly. We'll see you next time.